The new chapter for the syllabus is the chapter number 5, Introduction to Euclid's Geometry. What is geometry? We have come across this word many a times in the branch of mathematics. Geometry. Let's see the root cause of the introduction, geometry. Geometry in the branch of maths is divided into geo plus metry. So geo in Greek generally refers to earth, and metry in Greek refers to measure. So the Greek names for geo is earth and metry is measure. The measure of earth is what is called geometry. But why did the mathematicians during those times did give importance to measuring earth is the biggest question out here. So in order to solve this issue, or in order to understand the reason behind, let's try to take the history back into existence. Going back to history, during those times, many Greeks had different plots or the farms which the farmers have divided. So every land was divided into different farms and then connected with the farm of the other farmer. And this is the farm of the other farmer. So they had many irregular shapes through which the farmers had their farms. So with this irregular different plots of the farms which the farmers had as the agricultural land, it was very difficult to recognize the boundaries, because during those times the river Nile with heavy floods used to flush out the boundaries. Usually the farmers used to keep the boundaries out with some indication and the marks. But when the floods arise, or when the river Nile, which is besides, overflows and the water flushes in to the agricultural fields, then the whole boundaries used to vanish. Imagine the farms or the plots which are irregular in shape, which had their boundaries marked, have washed away. How do we recognize the boundaries? How do we recognize the plots? So the farmers during those times had various issues regarding the exact geometrical structure of their respective farms. So this problem has been a serious issue during those times in historical facts. So this is the reason why many mathematicians have come into expecting some mathematical solution for this problem, and hence arised the topic geometry, the measure of earth, the measure of the lands, the measure of the plots. So once the plots are lost out through the washed, flooded out waters, then reconstructing the boundaries was done through the geometrical measurements. So the geometrical measurements were strictly the inventions of the topic of geometry dedicated to all the past mathematicians. Geometry, geo for earth, metry for measure. The study of earth or the measure of earth is called geometry, the topic which we're going to learn for today's session. Now, before we enter into the topic of geometry, it is very essential to investigate the historical facts which make us realize that different civilizations have approached in different manners for geometrical concepts. The Egyptians had their own way of measuring the volumes and the areas of various geometrical structures in their own manner. The Babylonians had their own way. The Chinese had their own way of measuring. The Indians had their own way. So every civilization has approached in a different manner, but ultimately the process coming out to be unique. So let's see all the civilizations combined to understand the geometrical concept of identifying the areas or the volumes of various different geometrical structures like the cone, the cylinder, the sphere, the pyramid, etc. Geometrical structures and their mathematical properties to be continued. Now let's see the Indian civilization which had its contribution in the world of understanding geometry and geometrical structures. As in ancient days, the Harappan and Mohenjo-daro civilization had been excavated through various investigations. It has been excavated that these civilizations were highly civilized or highly developed in the society during those times, and this was strictly dedicated to the geometry behind the civilization. So let's see how geometry played a vital role in uplifting the civilization into a higher or the highest society, in the respect of the highest society. In Mohenjo-daro, it was known that most of the roads were parallel to each other and they were exactly perpendicular. Even the concept of perpendicular or 90 degrees was used in construction of roads. So they had the roads which were well mannered and exactly constructed through the geometrical measurements was assumed. Even the houses which were constructed and the rooms which were built inside the house were said to be totally based on geometrical concept, as clearly evident through the historical facts behind the civilization explored through the excavation. So all these things, even the drainage system, the Harappan and Mohenjo-daro civilization is assumed to have the underground drainage system, which was not existing in any other different places there during those times. So the drainage system in the undergrounds was a startled investigation or a startled exploration from historical facts, which has been existing from those times. So this civilization was very much witnessed with geometrical importance and the constructions through the geometrical significance. The Sulbasutras and many of the Vedic ancient scriptures, the manuscripts, are all clearly evident. Even the temples at which many symbols clearly indicate the importance of geometry, especially the Atharva Veda, which has the Sri Yantra, is interwoven with 9 isosceles triangles, which then lead to 42 subsidiary triangles. So many historical facts are witnessed with geometry and its importance in real life. History behind mathematics. History behind Indian mathematics. Before we enter into the introduction of geometry in its mathematical background, let's see how different mathematicians have understood geometry before they could apply geometry into the mathematics or into the real life. So Euclid's understanding of geometry. Let's see how Euclid have understood geometry in his period of time.